Hi, I'm Adam,
This is Kevin.
and we are Tech Guys Who Invest. This is the place for business people and investors to learn all about investing. We offer a fresh perspective on what it's like to have a day job while investing, and we share lessons learned on our investing journey. Our vision is to educate and entertain you while adding tons of value to your daily commute. Welcome to our show. Welcome to this episode of Tech Guys Who Invest. On this episode, we have Alex Felice, a high-energy, super entertaining, self-described antagonist. Alex is a real estate investor in North Carolina. He buys single-family homes long distance using the BRRRR method and recently closed on a 24-unit apartment. Alex is a career banker, most recently in SBA commercial underwriting. He's known for his brash and intense personality, and that really comes out in today's show. Alex is an avid reader, a lifelong powerlifter, and a photographer. Alex shares his deals and thoughts in full transparency on his website, brokeIsachoice.com. Catch him on YouTube by searching for the Alexander Felice channel. Let's welcome Alex to today's show. We're so excited to have Alex Felice here today. Alex, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Alex, the title of your website is Broke is a Choice. What do you mean by being broke is a choice?
It's pretty simple, pretty obvious, don't you think? It's just that most people don't like to hear it or say it, but if you live in America, then your financial troubles are largely a lot because you don't take self-responsibility enough for yourself. And that was my financial problem for a long time. I had nice clothes and nice cars and nice nonsense and enjoying all the consumerist goods that money could buy. And I was miserable and stuck in a job I didn't like and tied to debts that were just unnecessary. And the only reason why it happened was because I wasn't willing to suck it up and make some sacrifices about stuff that I really didn't need anyways. And so when I finally did, I was like, man, all my freaking problems were self-caused, and they started from me just not admitting the problem and not making any sacrifice. So now I shove it back into everybody's face. Like, dude, this is your fault. You're broke by choice.
Nice. Yeah, it's a cool perspective and way to look at it. I think it's interesting that a lot of people who are in that situation, which Kevin and I were both in just a couple years ago ourselves, but a lot of people who are in that situation don't recognize it. I mean, they kind of think it's normal.
Well, it is normal because everybody you go to work with is in the same boat, right?
Right.
So most of the time, I worked in car sales, which is a treacherous business, but it's like, everybody there's broke, but they got nice cars, or they spent, especially in any kind of sales business, it's a lot of egos. And
You're doing it for show.
Money yeah, right. Well, it's like, hey, look how good of a salesman I am. I show up in a BMW, or I show up in a whatever. I show up with nice clothes and nice shoes all the time. And so you get in this, competitive. You're competing against the wrong people. You're competing against the other. It hit me when I was like, oh, there's a 55-year-old guy I'm competing with. It's like, oh well, I'm losing because that's where I'm going to end up if I keep competing with him. And then it got really bad when I went and worked in banking because I thought, ooh, the banking people are going to have all their stuff together because they know about money, and they do not at all. They're just regular people who, it's not scary. It's just, like you said, it feels normal. So people get a job that, people get jobs for a variety of different reasons, but passion usually isn't one of them. It's, I got to pay the bills, because what happens is you get the debt first, then you go to solve it. And so I'm working with people that, fantastic, nice people, but they got like BMWs on 40 grand a year. It's like, and then they're fussing about money. It's like, dude, it's your fault. I'm going to tell you. So the ubiquitousness of it, the fact that it's normal, makes people not realize, like, the sad truth. It's like, dude, if you have a car payment and you're broke, I know the fix. You drive it to work every day, and people, they won't drive a beater. So I sold my car, and I had a nice car like everybody, and I sold it and drove a something so embarrassing. I got shoes that cost more than that car now, and I drove a beater so absolutely embarrassing that. It was horrible, but it was necessary. And then look, it changed my life. And now you look at me and people go, get us. It's funny because now people go, tell us how you did it. And it's like, I did what you're just not willing to do. Nothing special. And it only took a few years. You sell that car, you drive a beater, 3-4 years down the road. It's like, now you got money. I mean, look how easy. It's like, really, the car really is the pinnacle of the financial, just driving your financial future into the ground like an asteroid.
It's a great analogy, especially with how fast an asteroid plummets to Earth.
Yeah.
So with this view that being broke is a choice, it doesn't sound like it happened overnight. It was more so, you start to witness and piece together the pieces to change that mindset. Is that how it happened for you?
No. Luckily, no. And I don't think it happens to many people that way. Actually, my guess is it probably didn't happen to you both that way either, right? It's you have a moment of phoenix. Are you familiar with the phoenix metaphor of the mythological bird that burns itself in its own rage and then is reborn?
Rise from the ashes.
Yeah. So what usually happens for people, it's the same, like weight loss journeys are the same way. It's like you just wake up one day and you're like, I'm just so absolutely infuriated and sick of this problem that I'm going to do anything that it requires to fix it. And you will, you become a hellraiser of like, you just become a man determined, or a woman. You become determined that it's like, well, so for me, it was, I was going through this life all, broke and blind about it, enjoying myself, drinking excessively and driving nice cars. And like I said, whatever. And it was just, and I thought I was the man. And then, I lost a job, and I don't want to get into it too much, but, I made a bunch of bad choices all at once that culminated in me having nothing and, bills. And I had just made 6 figures, and I had like $900 in the bank and no way to get. It's just like, I looked at that and I was like, dude, I made enough money. If you make 6 figures, you make enough money to do whatever it is you need to do. And then so if you don't have enough, it's like, I know what the problem is. The problem was me. And so it took me a lot of pain for me to say, never again will this happen. So no, it wasn't a gradual thing, but look, a lot of people don't learn unless it's painful. Unfortunately, pain is a really good teacher. Pain is a really good teacher. But if I can help the next person, like, look, don't let this get to a point where it's like, well, it's painful. You don't want to go through it. Like, trust me, look at your coworkers. If anybody's sitting there and you hate your job and you have a coworker who's 60 or 55, whatever, and they're like still working to that last day and they don't have enough money for retirement, it's like, do a little bit of extrapolation and that's you. Guarantee it. You better get your shit together. Excuse me if I can't swear in this podcast. You better get your stuff together because because it's coming. Like, they work in the same job as you. The qualification's the same. If you don't have any money and they don't have any money, like, what do you think is going to change your life so specifically to not end up like that? So, but
yeah. It's pretty amazing when you talk to people who you try to explain that to them and there's something there that they can't see, or you find them not able to sort of make the change. That's something that always kind of just gets me. I want to change them.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not any better. I had to learn the hard way. So I empathize, but you can learn from me, or you can learn the hard way. The real problem is not that it's hard. It's not that you go through the pain and then change. It's that, I was fortunate that my pain came early. I was 27. That means I wasted 27 years of financial just irresponsibility to the utmost. Most people, the problem is they get to 50 and things go okay enough where the pain isn't so bad that they change it. Instead, they get to 50 or whatever, and then now they're only filled with regret and resentment, which is much more painful than just changing it now.
Yeah, and much harder for them to feel like they can change.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I believe when they get to that age, there's still plenty of time to change. But a lot of people don't believe that. They feel like, well, it's too late now. I'm 50. It's like, well, I mean, actually, you've got quite a lot of your productive working life ahead of you at 50. You've got time to change, but a lot of people don't see it that way. They're sort of trapped.
Yeah, change is hard. I mean, look, change is hard for everybody. I'm fortunate that I have a natural tendency to, well, as I said before the show, I'm an antagonist in life, just in general. So whatever I see, if things are going, kind of well, I just ruin it. So I had a good life in Las Vegas. I was there for 3 years, and it's like I just get bored. And it's like, let's just throw all this away and go do something else. So for me, I'm thankful for that, but I also think it was kind of boring, like you said. It's like I just learned the lesson early in life, I guess, where it's like, hey, look, if you let this thing go on too long, I don't like the feeling of regret. I don't like it. So I change fast. I change often. I pull Band-Aids off real. And that's what and it comes back to the website name, Brokers of Choice. Like, let's rip that Band-Aid off right now and get straight to the point and start fixing things.
When you start fixing things with people, what's the first thing that you have them do to recognize that being broke is a choice?
Well, admission is the first step of recovery. And that's the hardest part, really. I mean, you can say it, but go through what happened for me was I went on one of those little aggregator apps for calculating net worth, which are very popular. And you put in all your assets and you put in all your liabilities and it spits out a number and this is what you're worth. And mine was like negative 40,000. And that's my fault. That's self-admission. So a lot of times people don't, have you ever been scared of checking your bank account? I'm sure I used to be, right? You're like, I don't want to look at that thing in the morning after a weekend of drinking. It's like that right there is the root cause of the entire problem. It's like, it's Christmas right now, right? It's December 19th. It's Christmas. I don't know if this is going to get released, but there's a lot of people going in debt to buy stuff for other people in exchange for them spending too much money to buy it. It's like a snake, right? Eating its tail. And the only people who win is Amazon and Apple. And it's like, that's the core problem. We live in a culture. The original conversation was it feels normal. You live in a culture where everybody's spending, then you get sucked into it. And it's hard to say no. And it's hard to admit that, what people are doing now is like, I'll start saving in January. And it's like, dude, there is no January. There is no Monday. There is no, just cut it off right now. Just wake up and tell everybody in your life that you're different and they better get along or get out and, start admit the problem and then you can fix it. So I'm sorry, I'm rambling. So the first one started was I check the bank account every day. Right. So it's like you wake up, you have X amount of dollars, if you go off and you blow a bunch tomorrow, you're going to wake up, that number's going to be less. Like this is not progress. The second one is balance sheets. I got a degree in finance. Actually, after all this happened, I got my degree in finance because I wanted to really learn how money worked. So I say balance sheets, but net worth, calculate net worth. It should be going up every month. That's it. If your net worth goes up every month, you're in good shape. If it goes down every month, you're going to be in for a long ride.
Good point.
So what is a good way for people to get started? And, a lot of the people who listen to this show work. A lot of them are white collar workers and they have a job, a nice job, and they're not quite sure how to get started. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, depending on your situation, like for just basic personal finance, the book that helped me, and it sounds so cheesy now in retrospect, but The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it's such a good book and it's so easy. And it's like, look, save 10% of your money before you spend it. And it's not a novel idea. It's incredibly simple. It's like, dude, whatever you do, you take 10% of that paycheck and you put it somewhere where, for me, I had to get an account with Ally, like an online bank that I had no debit card with because I'm an impulse spender. So I had to protect myself from myself. So it's like you take 10% before you pay the mortgage, before you pay the house, before you pay Netflix, before you pay anybody, before you buy Christmas gifts, you take 10%, and actually the number really is 20. You take 20% money and you send it over there and you pay your future self, no matter what. No matter what. That's priority number one forever and always, no matter what. Every dollar that comes in, you take 20%, you put it away for this future self. And then you get in that habit. And then you figure out how to live on the rest. And then you don't have to worry about, what I used to do is I'd spend, and at the end of the month, you're like, oh, now I'll try to save. And it's like, that just doesn't work. We know that doesn't work. Doesn't work. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and then the second one is tracking net worth. Like, read that book, read a few books on it, on personal finance. Save your 10% first. Check your bank account every single morning on your phone, and then track your net worth regularly.
Now, you talked a lot about. It sounds like there's a couple things. There's prioritizing and then automating. So when it's at the top of your list and you automate it in some fashion, you're not even thinking about it anymore. So how do you recommend, if there are any apps or tools or websites that you use for people to leverage, especially that are trying to get started?
Yeah, I'm hesitant to advocate for automation, to be honest. I know that technology allows it, and it's a good thing when used right, but automation is kind of the problem we're talking about here, right? Complacency. So my opinion is don't automate anything, like obsess over the detail of it instead. Like Like you got to get a kung fu grip on this problem. Like don't automate it. Like check it manually every day. Like become the solution. You are the problem. You need to become the solution. The tech can help. Tech can help you, but it has to start with you. So again, like I automate it now. You should automate that idea in your head 10% first. That's the automation. But and you can automate the transaction like every time it comes in or whatever. But like prioritization. I like that you said that. The priority should be you wake up at 6:30 in the morning. First thing you pull that phone out, check your bank account. Right, every single time. Check Ally. I use Ally, whatever your online bank account is. Check your. I don't want to have a sponsorship, so I don't want to be ranting off names. That I don't have any, so I'm not making any money here. Personal Capital. I used to use one called Yodlee. Do you guys remember that?
No, Personal Capital I like.
Yeah, so before those were popular, before Mint was popular, there was one called Yodlee, and it was it was ugly then, and then they didn't make it look nice, and then they died, I think. Anyways, yeah, prioritization. Like, dude, if money is stressing you out, it affects everything in your life because then you're beholden to a job you don't like, to a boss you might not like, and even if you like your job, you don't want them to own you. So
yeah, like
the money problem for me. You got to fix it, and it doesn't take that much to fix it. It really doesn't. You don't have to be wealthy. You don't even have to be wealthy to have money not stress you out anymore. You just need to spend a little bit of time getting control, getting a little bit of savings, paying off some of the bad debts, and then it's like, ooh, I don't need much, but at least now I'm not owned by somebody else. And then all this life stress starts getting undone. So, like, get a grip on that freaking problem, even if we haven't gotten to investing yet, like just getting a grip on this problem undoes so much of people's life stress that it's not like money is the solution. Like I'm not that guy. I'm the money doesn't buy happiness guy, like totally. But a lack of money can cause absolute endless misery.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And that's a good transition into investing. That's where I want to go next. So if you have managed to do a good job of putting away 10% or more, and you get to a point where you're ready to invest, you've got some money to invest now. What do you recommend someone who doesn't have experience doing this to do?
So yeah, because you get a real weird problem, a good problem, but a weird one. You start saving a little bit of money. So I went from negative 40 grand to say like 15 grand in the bank over a few years. And I was like, ooh, I'm not broke anymore. What am I gonna do with my 15 grand? I was burning a hole in my pocket. But what do you do with it? That's a really good question. And, for me, the way I solved it, I'll go into detail. I'm a lazy fella. So I didn't want to start a business that I had to go work every day. And I didn't want some get rich quick scheme where I was going to have to, you jump on this train and then it ends and then you got to go find a new train. And you're constantly in this battle of like, you're in the same boat, like chasing.
Right.
So it was like, okay, I needed something that was passive. I need something that was tried and true because I wanted it to last for the long run. I needed something, I didn't care about outsized gains, right? It was like, I just wanted to make sure it worked. I wanted something that produces cash because what I didn't care to invest in the stock market and just get equity because it doesn't help me quit my job to have equity. I needed cash flow. You can get dividends and whatnot, but wasn't really for me. So, and I didn't have a lot of money. So so what can you do that produces cash flow, is passive, is tried and true, works for somebody who's lazy and doesn't have any money, like real estate, if you can believe it. Rental real estate. Now, admittedly, it was I started learning about 2013. So the market was, there was a massive amount of foreclosures from the global financial collapse still in the market. And it was a little bit, I could jump in a little bit easier, but basically I want to say I had like 15 or 20 grand in the bank, and I went to the MLS and I bought a foreclosure off the MLS for $54,000.
Wow.
Now that's not the good part. The good part is it was in such good shape that I could use an FHA loan and move right in. So I think
my God.
Now you can't do that anymore.
No.
It's hard to do. So with like $3 grand, I moved into this house for $54,000, and then same track. I'm still going along. I had my primary residence, which was a terrible deal, a little condo, and I was basically losing money. But I had this foreclosure, and I was like, okay, this thing's gonna make some money. So I painted it a little bit. I put probably $3 grand worth of work into it, and then 18 months later, I refinanced it, and it came in at 115. And so I was like, okay, now for sure, I know that any idiot can do this because I'm an idiot and I just did it. Now you now based on my story, you know that like, okay, I had made 60,000 in equity over in a year and a half. Now I didn't pull all that out. I pulled out about $20,000, but the 20,000 I had before, I'm like, I got a sizable chunk of cash now, 50 grandish. And that was more than I had ever seen in my life by a long shot. And, it was very encouraging when you get into this real, and well, it's very encouraging when you can make those kind of gains. And, I was hooked. I went off and bought a whole bunch more.
Excellent.
So with that foreclosure, is that a strategy you still do today, or how does that strategy change as the market has changed?
Yeah. So look, when you're new, it's hard to get in and get good deals, especially in an up market, because the big players, they get all the really great deals. So you kind of got to fight. You got to fight your way in the beginning. And well, look, that's a burden everybody has to go through. So you just got to suck it up, right? Like your first deal is not going to be your best deal. You're going to get better. And so I would tell you, talk to wholesalers. You got to network. Like this is a people game. Like a guy emailed me earlier today. He's like, have you ever bought off the auction? I want to go to the auction. And I'm like, no, I haven't. He goes, well, what's it like? And I'm like, I don't know. Go. Well, what if I can't find anything and all these other things? And what about realtors and what about wholesalers? I'm like, dude, you need to be in these people's peer groups so that when they find deals, you're at the top of their head and they say, oh, I'll call Alex and see if he wants it. If you don't talk to them, like they're not looking for you. They're going straight to the people that they already know close. That's how it works. The people who close deals get deals to come to them first because they know that, because the wholesaler knows that they can close. So you got to fight your way into that, but you got to be on the you got to work on the networking side so that when the deal shows up, you're there in the top of their mind so that you get an opportunity at it.
Yeah, I wish I had heard your advice about 3 years ago, because I paid my dues back then just fighting my way in. And it took me quite a while to realize I wasn't crazy. Like this is way harder than it sounded from some people. And I wasn't finding these deals. I was struggling to get ones where the numbers worked. And eventually I found something. And it's like once you get the first deal, things start to happen.
Build that momentum.
Yep. 100%, Kevin. Yeah. Momentum. And look, the difference between the amount of people, the difference between the people who are interested in real estate and will never close a deal and the people who have closed one deal and more is like 90%, right? Like 90% of the people never ever close a deal. And then the rest of the 10% close everything from the person who owns one deal to the person who owns 10,000 doors. Like, so, yeah. So fighting that uphill battle for that first deal, especially that first one, fighting that uphill battle, like if you're there and you're in that mode right now and you're frustrated with it, like I get it. I super get it. And there is no fix other than persistence. Because here's another thing, right? Like a lot of people aren't going to take you seriously until you show up for a while. So even if you met the right person, like in their head, they're like, yeah, but Alex, he's not really that serious. You show up for 6 months to the RIA meeting every month. Like show up to the coffee meetings, show up to, post online, like be at the forefront of their brain so that they know that you're serious. If the people who email me and they're like, dude, I've been obsessing over the real estate for like 3 weeks and I can't put it together. What's the deal? And I'm like,
it's 3 weeks, buddy.
Yeah. Like you can't, there's nothing happens in 3 weeks. Like you don't even know what a deal looks like yet. So a lot of it is immersion. Like, my key to success my key to success is super simple. Just spend time around the people you want to be like. Spend an inordinate amount of time around them, and then you will be them. It's that simple. It's dead ass that simple.
It really is. It works. I know because I experienced exactly what you're saying, and I transitioned to large multifamily. Took me a while to find my way there, but once I did and started spending time with those people, then things started happening. But it was the same thing. You had exactly what you're saying. It took a while to build the credibility, but you spend time in those areas with those people, get in those circles, persist, and eventually things start to happen. I know that you went that way also, right? You started with the single family, but then did a large multifamily, like an apartment. Can you talk to us about how you made that progression?
Yeah. So it's so funny. Like when you hear these stories, they sound so consolidated. But for me, it's been 6 years, whatever, when I was broke as shit. To like, let me get my stuff together. To like, oh, I can't believe I bought a house, and then it's like, now you own 8, right? My whole plan was buy 10 in 10 years and retire, because I dare not have any ambition, because look how much I messed everything up for the first 30 years of my life. Like, and then I'm going to get cocky on this. Like, there's no way. And so my plan was 10 in 10 years. And then I got 8 in 3 years, and they're like good deals. And I was like, okay, you say it's hard, but I say it's easy.
So you're saying that the climb up to the hill is quite difficult, but once you start knowing what direction you want to go, you're basically walking downhill then.
Yeah, I mean, you said momentum, and that's the right word. Like, getting past the first deal, the momentum to like push forward, especially you don't know what it's going to take. When you're new, it's like, I don't know what closing a deal even feels like. So it's hard for you to imagine it. So it seems so much farther away, and it's a difficult journey. So I empathize with people who are going through it. Like, you just got to stick with it. And there's a lot of people that'll help you too. Like, people just don't ask for help enough too. Email me.
I agree.
I'll help you. And I'll teach you how to get in touch with people in your area that'll help you if you need it. So I'm doing all this stuff. And then I was on the BP podcast because I'm very entertaining. And I got some social exposure, and I started my own website, which is the smartest thing I ever did. I started my own website. And so people go, oh, this guy's credible. He seems to know what he's talking about. He does seem that way, doesn't he? And then
that's why you're on the show.
And so I know. Yeah. And so fake it till you make it work. I've convinced myself even. And so a guy emails me out and he goes, I want to buy big multifamilies. And I'm like, you know what? Like, how single family homes don't scale. They don't scale. I don't tell you. Like, you're not going to want 50 of them. You're not going to want 20 of them. I don't think. Some people have them, but you're not going to. It's not effective. The effectiveness of real estate is in the scale. So you get through 8. I did my 8, and I was like, no more onesies and twosies. I'm over it. If I'm going to do one, let's just do a big one. So I start talking about it, and I just put it into the universe. That's my little, I put it into the universe.
To existence.
Yeah, I just spirit fingers and I speak into existence, and then that's what I do all the time. And then a guy emails me and he's like, "Hey, I got a 24 unit in your area. We had done a little business before on single family. Because I got a 24 unit in your area. I think I need help closing it. I have all the money for it, and here's the deal, but I need help closing it down."
Wow,
so
that's just amazing, right?
And it was because of my website, and it's because of my track record, and it's because I wear loud pink shirts. And dude, speak it into existence, but it worked, right? So like, so the 24 unit, it's not super big, but it was a product of, look, this real estate thing is going well. I'm getting good at it. I know the scale is the answer that I need to the problem, and my network had grown because I had done content production. So it was really just that. It was like, it was the natural business progression, and it was my social exposure. And then I just actually today I went to Greenville. I looked at a 38 unit.
Oh, nice.
So, but it's too small. Too small. That's the biggest problem I have. That's my biggest complaint with the 24 unit. If you're thinking about multifamily, like, I don't know what you guys' experience is with it, but my 24 unit, the biggest problem is that it wasn't big enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how it doesn't feel like, well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would be this way, but the bigger you go, the easier it is in some ways.
Not in all ways, I agree with you, but in
Right.
many ways. Like, property management starts getting cheaper by percentage.
Right.
Financing starts getting easier. There's a lot of things that make it easier. Setting up the legal infrastructure doesn't scale up with size. So it's like, the smaller you go, the more you pay by percentage.
Right.
There's all sorts of things. And then, my place doesn't have amenities because it's small. Like a 75 unit would have a pool. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
but I gotta ask the same rents because it's the same size unit.
Right.
So you're fighting against yourself. Yeah. 24 units is way too small. I think 50 to 75 is where I need to be for the next one, or if not bigger.
So let's talk for a minute about some mindset hurdles you may have had that you overcame. Like maybe, most people have to break through it. It's one or more stages. They say, wow, I'm not sure I could ever do that. Especially when you start talking about, a 30 unit apartment. If you just start there, that freaks people out. I remember reading a David Lindahl book on this, and I only had a duplex and a single family rental, and I was just like, man, this is crazy. I'm not sure I could ever do this. And here I am now, like, yeah, I'm doing it. Did you have those kind of things you broke through, and how do you think you did that?
Dude, that's everybody. Everybody, self-doubt is your enemy. That's your only enemy. It's self-doubt. And it's a difficult one to defeat, to be honest. And look, when I was 8, I'm afraid of heights, terrified of heights. So when I was 18, I joined the Army. And when they asked me if I wanted to go to airborne school, I said yes, because I thought because I wanted to beat it. And it turns out I'm still really deathly afraid of heights, and I hate jumping out of airplanes. But, you got to lie to yourself sometimes. And sometimes you got to be okay with being afraid. I've also been powerlifting for 15 years, right? So it's like, if you ask me when I was a scrawny 120-pound kid, if I'd ever deadlift 600 pounds, I'd be like, yeah, no. But then I did it one day, So mindset is tough. I don't have any really great advice for it other than, I don't know, here. You have strengths and weaknesses. Learn them and stop. And what a lot of people do is they try to fit themselves into a box. Like everybody wants to be Gary Vee, for instance, or Grant Cardone. And It's like, yeah, but you're not that person. And you don't even have the personality traits that would lend yourself to be that person. Sorry. So a lot of times you're fighting against this romantic, idealized version of who you want to be. And it's just counter to your personality. It's like, don't fight it, dude. You're not going to be who you always think you want to be. You're going to be you. And the faster you can figure that out and align your goals against what your natural strengths are, rather than trying to, like some people are bad at sales. It's like, yeah, don't go cold. Don't go cold calling people every day if you hate it. There are people that like it. And there are people who hate waking up in the morning. It's like, that's a bad one. You should wake up early in the morning. But there's certain things where it's like, there's just certain things. Like some people are big picture people. Some people are details. It's like, don't do the opposite. Right.
Yeah.
And
that's solid.
Like, just don't do the opposite of, some people are extroverted. Some people are introverted. I'm an incredibly high extrovert, like super high and off the charts high extrovert, but some people aren't. It's not a strength or weakness in and of itself. It's like, find out which one you are and then lean hard on it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So with that self-awareness and figuring out where you want to go and aligning your goals, what would you recommend for somebody that's kind of still trying to figure out what they want to invest in? How would you kind of take that concept of knowing yourself and applying it to investing?
So the big one that I realized, thankfully, really quick was most people are lazy. And I don't mean that as an insult. I joke with myself about laziness all the time, and it's mostly a joke. I'm not nearly as lazy as I like to say. But but most people don't want to work as hard as, they see the Grant Cardones and they see the dream or whatever, whoever it is. They see Jeff Bezos and like, that's the dream, or Elon Musk. Have you seen how that guy works? It's like, you're not going to do it. Most people, you don't want that. And that's okay. Like, so many people try to force it. So for me, when I started real estate investing, it's like, look, I need something that's going to be passive, because what if I wake up one day and I hate it? And now you're back into square one where you've created a job for yourself. So when you think about investing, like really think about how you're going to protect your downside, how you're going to protect against the future unknown risk. And then remember also, especially if you're like in your 20s, like things that you're willing to put up with now, like all these people that are doing house hacking now I got a buddy who has 5 roommates, right?
Wow.
Right. And he's like, we have to make all this cash flow. And it's like, yeah, but you're going to hate it here. You're single and you're coming up on 30. Like this is going to get old soon. And you have no exit strategy for that. So try not to build things investing is a long game, super long game, super long game. So try not to build a system that you end up hating for yourself. And here's the other thing is like, if you build it, for me, I built a passive business. Well, now it's given me enough freedom that, well, I took a 4-month hiatus on my job, and I don't really have anything to do. Well, now I can work on things that I want to do all day long. But I couldn't do it if I had created a job for myself first. I'd be stressed out. I'd be trying to force it. I'd be trying to like generate something that like people that quit their job and start wholesaling. Like most of them just end up grinding and they're not that happy. So create something for yourself that, kind of gives you freedom first, and then you'll have a whole lifetime to create all the jobs you want for yourself.
Yeah, That's great. What do you think one thing you might have told your younger self is? You said a lot of good stuff there that I think would fit, but if you could go back and kind of tell your younger self something, knowing what you know now,
the number one thing that I've done right over the last few years that is undervalued in our community, and I'll explain why, is books. I read a lot of books. Like I'm a book fiend. I have a page on my website called The Highest Return on Investment is in Reading. And if you go through that, you'll find probably zero books, maybe one or two that are recommended by investors or are about investing. And I think this is a giant opportunity for people, or what I would have told myself, like, dude, just find an hour and read a book every day. And then when you get through the 20 books that are recommended always by the same people, the ones like Rich Dad Poor Dad and Richest Man in Babylon and 10X Rule and and what's the new Never Split the Difference and all these self-help and business books, like when you get through all that, right? Because it takes about a year. There's about 20 of them. You get through that, it's like, now, what are you going to do what are you going to read for the next 20 years? And so I started reading history, philosophy, economics, and older texts. Most of my books I read now are over 100 years old. And I'll tell you what, it changed my life in ways that I got a whole blog, I got a whole website about it.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
So two things.
We will have to get the link to that blog on those and put it in the show notes. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. And I write reviews about all of them, in-depth reviews about books that nobody else is reading.
That's fantastic. I love that you are referencing books, and it sounds, what I gathered from our conversation is that you are definitely not lazy, and you are smarter than you give yourself credit for.
That's why I fool people.
So with that, one of our questions that we love to ask our guests, we wouldn't be tech guys if we didn't ask you about tech. And I want to kind of take a little bit of a different spin on this. When you were selling cars, what was your favorite piece of technology that you saw in cars?
Dude, I sold cars in 2006 when the dealership still didn't know how to use the internet to sell cars yet.
How about modern day technology in cars?
I don't have a good answer for that, unfortunately. Look, selling cars, CRM. I don't know any name for one, but CRM really is cars and follow up is the answer, is the correct response. For cars, it's like you got to kind of. It's a people game. I don't know any tech that would help you sell better in the moment across the table. But following up, like, what's the statistics on? And it's the same for real estate, right? It's like you put the offer in, you should expect to negotiate, right? And it's third pass where you get the close. So you talk to somebody and you have, say, a 20%. Say you have a 15% closing ratio. So you talk to somebody, it's like you got a 15% chance of closing this. Well, the second time you talk to them, it's like 60%. And if you can talk to them a third time, it's like 95%. Something like that. I could be getting the numbers messed up. But the point is, the CRM software that's available now, and you can apply it to anything, any business, right? This business, whether you're raising money or trying to find deals or talking to wholesalers or whatever it is, or selling cars, like, get in front of people, and then, you got to get in front of them again to talk about the same topic in a few days. Right. And so by the third time, and this is where people don't like to negotiate. So it's like, if you don't like to negotiate and you don't close in the first time, then you're going to avoid the pain, the discomfort of getting that second conversation. So people just don't call back. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So that follow-up is important. And since we didn't get a tech question, what would be the book that you recommend to people that's outside of the 20 personal development business books that everybody recommends?
Anti-Fragile.
Ooh,
I heard that was a great book.
Me too.
So I love this book. If you know anybody who knows me knows that you can't have a single conversation without me bringing up this book. The guy Nassim Taleb, it's an economics book. It's an economics and philosophy book, and it's a little bit of a dense. It's a kind of a tricky read. It's not light. And he wrote 5 books actually in a series. This is the third in the series and the best one. But the series is called Inserto. I have a 3,500 page review on my website. Anti-Fragile is the best one.
Wow, that's amazing. So we'll put that in the show notes as well, and I will put that on my book list.
Tech. Actually, I had. Oh, are you about to cut me off?
No.
Tech. I've been on this rant recently about YouTube. I think YouTube is. I know YouTube is not new. I know YouTube is seeming done. Everybody who's going to be successful in it already got there, and for a lot of reasons. I know we're short on time. For a lot of reasons, I'm going to do 2020. YouTube is my number one priority over real estate. 2020 YouTube, that video, being on video, that tech, that thing, I think is. I think we're just getting started on tech on YouTube.
Wow!
So we're going to see that pink shirt everywhere.
You're gonna see that pink shirt
one
everywhere.
At a time, boys. Oh yeah. All my YouTube videos now are all the new ones that are coming out. I wear this pink shirt and I got all the labels are pink. And actually I hired a film crew, a high level film crew to come do this flip that I just closed on, or I close on it tomorrow. I bought a flip and I'm going to do a YouTube production about it. And it's going to be we're doing everything in pink. It's going to be awesome.
Oh man, that's awesome. So what I was going to say there when I collided with Kevin was you're going to be a YouTuber. My kiddos watch YouTubers.
Yeah, it is mostly adolescents that you that's going to grow. So it comes to a larger thing, like, my 3 tenets for success are education, networking, and the third one that I added this year is content production, because people need to know who you are. They need to know what you're doing so they can help you.
That's awesome. So Alex, it's been awesome having you on the show, and I think you've added a ton of value and really shared some really interesting insights with our audience. Thanks so much for coming on. We'd like to ask you to share where people can find out more about you. Definitely share your YouTube and your website and your podcast.
My YouTube is just my name. I think it's just Alexander Felice. The website is brokersofchoice.com. Brokersofchoice.com. Brokersofchoice.com.
Wait, what is it?
Brokersofchoice.com. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. This is fantastic. You guys are amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're really glad to have you on.
And just so you don't forget, it's brokeisAchoice.com.
That's it for this episode of Tech Guys Who Invest. This is Adam.
And this is Kevin. Thank you so much for listening to us. Don't forget to join our Facebook page, where we're building a community of investors so that we can share ideas, tips, and other ways to help us get out of the rat race. If you found value in this podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could share it with your network. Lastly, we love feedback. It's how we get better. So if you wouldn't mind spending 30 seconds and leaving us an honest review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're using, that would be super sweet. If you want to get on Adam or Kevin's calendar, go to tgwipodcast.com/contact. We want to help you invest safely, wisely, and ultimately get you out of the rat race. Thanks again.